Hello, and welcome to the Daily Space for today, Wednesday, December 23rd, 2020. I am your host, Annie Wilson. Most weekdays, we're here putting science into your brain. Usually Wednesdays are for Rocket Roundup, and today is no different. This is the very last show of the year. We've got a whole bunch of rocket launches to cover, so let's get to it, shall we? First up, on December 15th at 10:09 UTC, Rocket Lab launched an Electron from its launch site on the Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. This was the 7th launch of 2020 for Rocket Lab, the 17th Electron launch overall, and the 96th payload launched by an Electron. The mission, named The Owl's Night Begins, delivered Synspective's Strix Alpha synthetic aperture radar satellite to a 500-kilometer orbit. According to Synspective, the Strix Alpha satellite will demonstrate their synthetic aperture radar technology to be able to image millimeter-level changes to the Earth's surface from space, independent of weather conditions on Earth and at any time, day or night. Strix Alpha is the first of more than 30 satellites planned by Synspective to form a constellation in low Earth orbit to collate data on a daily basis that can be used for urban development planning, construction, and infrastructure monitoring, and disaster response across Asia. Unlike the last Electron launch, Rocket Lab did not attempt to recover the first stage. Reminder, rocket launches are loud.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
Engine
3,
start.
2.
Next up, later that same day at 20:22 UTC, Astra Space made their second launch attempt of Rocket 3 from the Pacific Spaceport Complex in Kodiak, Alaska. The very first launch attempt of Rocket 3 blew up on the pad during a wet dress rehearsal, so this is actually the third launch attempt of this particular rocket model. It was nearly successful, coming to within a half a kilometer per second of orbital velocity, according to a tweet by Astra CEO Chris Kemp. However, the rocket did make it into space by crossing the Kármán line, the boundary between the atmosphere and outer space at 100 kilometers. Liftoff and the 8.5-minute flight was not broadcasted live, but the company did release video shortly after launch. Nice. More rocket launches after this quick break. Welcome back. We've got more rocket launches. So next up, on December 17th at 10:41 UTC, the Indian Space Research Organization, also known as ISRO, launched their CMS communications satellite atop a PSLV-XL rocket. CMS-1, also known as GSAT-12R, will provide extended C-band coverage that will include the Indian mainland, Andaman Nicobar, and Lakshadweep Islands. Total time from launch to separation was a bit over 20 minutes. It is the 42nd communication satellite launched by India and the 22nd flight of a PSLV. And of course, we got the launch video.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
सफलतापूर्ण लिफ्ट ऑफ PSLV C50 अपने निर्दिष्ट मिशन की ओर बढ़ता हुआ.
That's a marvelous liftoff. The PS1 performance is according to the expectations.
Plus 20 seconds.
And it goes into the clouds, and you can't see much after that, so I cut the video short. But you got the good parts of it. Next up, on December 18th at 12:26 UTC, an Arianespace Soyuz 2.1 frigate launched the fourth set of 36 OneWeb satellites from the Vostochnny Cosmodrome in eastern Russia. After nearly 4 hours, 2 burns of the main frigate engine, and 7 frigate RCS burns, all 36 OneWeb satellites were deployed into their proper orbits. And yep, you betcha, we got the launch video.
Промежуточная. Главное. Подъем.
Прошел контакт подъема. Двигатели центрального и боковых блоков вышли на режим главной ступени. 10 секунд. Параметры системы управления ракеты-носителя в норме. 20 секунд. Двигатели первой и второй ступеней работают нормально.
Not a lot of a countdown there, but the Soyuz engines do fire before liftoff. So let's watch that real quick again so you can see that. So you can hear the engines.
Промежуточная. Главное. Подъем.
Прошел контакт подъема. Двигатели центрального и боковых блоков вышли на режим главной ступени. 10 секунд. Параметры системы управления ракеты-носителя в норме. 20 секунд. Двигатели первой и второй ступеней работают нормально.
All right, more rockets after this break. Welcome back. There's more rocket launches, just like I promised. All right, next up on December 19th at 1400 hours UTC, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 for the National Reconnaissance Office Launch 108 from LC-39 Alpha at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The mission carried a pair of classified satellites operated by the NRO. This launch took place just a few days after the launch of NRO-L-44 by ULA, making this the 6th successfully launched mission for the NRO this year. And even though the mission's classified, the launch footage isn't.
T-minus 15 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Oh, you can actually see the pitch, kind of.
Stage 1 chamber pressures are nominal.
And it's not a SpaceX launch without a SpaceX landing. This time it actually landed on land instead of a barge, so let's watch that clip. I'm really appreciative of the fact that there's video coming down.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Stage 2 start of terminal guidance.
And Falcon 9 does it again. That's 5 times for this booster, and the 70th successful recovery of a Falcon 9 to date. Congratulations to all those that have been working on today's mission.
Very cool. And for our last launch of the week on December 22nd at 4:37 UTC, the very first Long March 8 lifted off from the Chung Satellite Launch Center. The Long March 8 uses a core stage with 2 K2 boosters. The first stage and the boosters use a combination of RP-1, a highly reformed form of kerosene, and liquid oxygen, while the second stage uses a combination of liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. The payload consisted of 5 relatively small satellites with various missions. From what we have been able to determine, some of the satellites were communication satellites, while at least one was an Ethiopian Earth Observation 6-unit CubeSat known as ET Smart RSS, which will be operated by the Ethiopian Space Science and Technology Institute and was built with the assistance of a Chinese company called Smart Satellite Technology. And yeah, of course we got the launch video. What else are you here for? There's that roar. Short but sweet. All right, to wrap things up, here's a running tally of a few spaceflight statistics for the current year. There are currently 5 toilets in space. 3 are installed on the ISS, 1 is on the Crew Dragon, and 1 is on the Soyuz. Humanity has burned up 3 toilets in the atmosphere this year. We've also put a whopping 1,231 satellites into orbit. That number includes those launched from other in-orbit craft, such as the International Space Station. 1,196 of those satellites have been launched directly from rockets, and 833 of those were Starlinks. There have been a total of 113 orbital launch attempts so far this year, including 11 failures. I keep track of orbital launches by where they launched from, also known as spaceport. Here's that breakdown. China, 38, USA, 38, Russia, 8, Kazakhstan, 7, New Zealand, 7, French Guiana, 6, Japan, 4, India, 2, Iran, 2, Israel, 1. And your random space fact for this week is that this week marks the 5th anniversary of the very first Falcon 9 landing. There have been 70 successful landings since. And that rounds out our show for today. Thank you all for listening. I have been your host, Annie Wilson. Today's script was researched, written, and edited by a whole team of people, including Dave Bullard, Gordon Dewis, Beth Johnson, Eric Mattis, and myself. Special thanks to CosmoQuest community member Astro Galaxy for their help with pronunciation guides. Our web content will be produced by Beth Johnson. Our executive producer and fearless leader is Dr. Pamela Gay. The Daily Space is a product of the Planetary Science Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to exploring our solar system and beyond. The best way you can support us is through Patreon at patreon.com/CosmoQuestX. Like us, please tell a friend. You never know whose life you can change by adding a daily dose of science.